You ever send someone a message like, "Hey, can you do me a favor?" And they reply with one single word, "Sure." And then nothing, no follow-up, no details. No "what's up?" No emoji to soften the blow. Just silence so loud it starts narrating your worst thoughts like it's auditioning for a thriller. And suddenly you're not even asking about the favor anymore. You're performing an autopsy on the word "sure." Was that a warm sure? A tired sure? A sure, I guess, if I must, you little inconvenience. Because here's the weird part, if they said no, you'd be fine. No is clean, no has edges. You can put it in a box and move on. But sure followed by silence, that feels personal, like you got put on read by the universe. And the hidden psychology behind it is, your brain doesn't hear silence as nothing. Your brain hears silence as meaning, and it will manufacture meaning if you don't give it one. So let's talk about the types of people behind the sure crickets phenomenon, and why your nervous system reacts like you just got socially exiled. Then there's the sure person who actually means yes, but their brain is a browser with 47 tabs open. You ask, "Can you send me that file?" They say, "Sure," and you're like, "Great." But for them, sure is not the action. Sure is the intention, it's the mental sticky note. They fully believe they're going to do it. They even feel like a helpful person for saying yes. And then their attention gets kidnapped by life. Someone walks in, a notification pings, they remember they haven't eaten. They start reorganizing a drawer for no reason, like it's suddenly their life's purpose. Psychologically, this is often about executive function. Some people have a bigger gap between "I intend to" and "I did." Not because they don't care, because their brain struggles with task initiation, sequencing, or remembering to return to the thread. And if you're the one waiting, your brain reads it as, "They said yes and then chose not to." But the truth is, they didn't choose not to, they just disappeared into the fog. If you're this type, you're not evil. You're just living in a constant state of "I'll do it in 1 second," which is the biggest lie humans tell. Another type is the sure person who means "I don't want conflict." This one is smoother, polite, agreeable. They'll say sure the way a hostage negotiator says, "Okay, let's stay calm." You ask for something and they feel a jolt of pressure. Not pressure from you necessarily, pressure from the idea of disappointing you. So they say sure to buy time, to avoid the immediate discomfort of saying no. To keep the vibe nice. To keep themselves safe from your reaction, even if you've never reacted badly in your life. And then they go silent because now they have to either do the thing or admit they never wanted to. This is classic people-pleasing behavior. It's not manipulation in the cartoon villain sense, it's self-protection. The silence isn't about you being unworthy. It's about them being afraid of being the bad person. But to the person on the other side, especially if you're sensitive to rejection, this feels like emotional whiplash. You heard yes, your body relaxed, and then the silence hits and your body goes, "Wait. We're not safe." Maybe it's you, maybe it's someone you know, but if you've ever said sure when you meant "please don't ask me that," congratulations, you've met this type from the inside. But here's the twist. Sometimes sure isn't a yes or a no, sometimes it's a dominance move. This type says sure like a manager approving a request from someone who shouldn't have asked in the first place. They reply fast, one word, no warmth. And then they go silent on purpose, not because they forgot, not because they're anxious, but because they like leaving you hanging. It creates a power imbalance. You're waiting, they're withholding. And your brain hates that, because humans are wired for social feedback. In tribes, uncertainty about your standing wasn't just awkward, it was dangerous. So when someone gives you a maybe yes and disappears, your nervous system reacts like you just got pushed to the edge of the group. This is why the silence feels personal. It's not the task. It's the status question underneath it. Where do I stand with you? And if you grew up around inconsistent responses, warm one moment, distant the next, this dynamic hits even harder. Your brain learned that uncertainty means you need to scan, interpret, and brace. So you reread sure like it's a coded message. Then there's the most misunderstood type, the sure person who thinks silence is neutral. They grew up in a communication style where words are functional. Sure means yes, end of transaction. No follow-up is required because in their mind nothing is wrong. They're not adding extra tone. They're not sprinkling reassurance like seasoning. They're just done. And if you're someone who relies on social cues, softeners, warmth, confirmation. This feels icy, like you're being tolerated, not welcomed. This is often a mismatch in communication norms. Some people use conversation to manage emotion. Others use conversation to exchange information. So you hear sure and need the emotional receipt. Sure, no problem. They hear your need for that and think, why are we doing all this? I said yes. And finally, there's the type that isn't really about them. It's about you. Because the reason, sure, plus silent stings is that your brain treats ambiguity like a threat. When the social signal is unclear, your mind fills in the blank with whatever it fears most. If you fear being annoying, the blank becomes, they're annoyed. If you fear abandonment, the blank becomes, they're pulling away. If you fear being unimportant, the blank becomes, I'm not a priority. The silence becomes a mirror. Not of what they feel, but of what you worry is true. So the real question is just, why did they go quiet? It's, what story did I instantly tell myself when they did? Because that story is where your nervous system lives. So here's what I want you to do. Think of the last time someone hit you with the sure and then vanished. Which type were they? The distracted tab juggler, the conflict avoider, the power player, the neutral communicator, or did the silence mostly trigger a story you already had loaded in the chamber? And what about you? What kind of sure person are you? If you want, drop a comment. What word or texting habit instantly makes you overthink? And if this video just explained your entire emotional experience in one strangely specific situation, you might want to stick around. Because once you start noticing these tiny social moments, you realize they're not tiny at all. They're basically your attachment style in HD.